All right, gentlemen, you're up first.
Okay.
You have 30 seconds. The lightning round begins. Stop it. Now, what was Monica's nickname when she was a field hockey goalie?
Big fat goalie.
Correct. Rachel claims this is her favorite movie.
Dangerous Liaisons.
Correct. Her actual favorite movie is...
Weekend at Bernie's.
Correct. Monica categorizes her towels. How many categories are there?
Everyday use. Fancy. Guest. Fancy guest.
2 seconds. 11? 11. Unbelievable. 11 is correct. All right. That's 4 for the guys. Ladies, you're up.
All right, come on.
5 correct questions wins the game. The lightning round begins now. What is Joey's favorite food?
Sandwiches.
Correct. Chandler was how old when he first touched a girl's breast?
14?
No, 19.
Thanks, man.
Joey had an imaginary childhood friend. His name was...
Maurice.
Correct. His profession was...
Oh, Space Cowboy.
Correct. What is Chandler Bing's job?
Oh, gosh. This has something to do with numbers and processing. Well, he carries a briefcase.
10 seconds. You need this or you lose the game.
It has something to do with transponding. Oh, he's a transponster. That's not even a word. I can get this. Oh,
Hello, I'm film historian Tony Maeda.
And I'm Brad Shreve, who's just a guy who likes movies.
We discuss movies and television from Hollywood's golden age. We go behind the scenes and share our opinions, too.
And of course, being the average guy, my opinions are the ones that matter.
As does your self-delusion. Welcome to Going Hollywood.
How you doing?
Brad, could I be more excited for our episode today?
I don't think I've seen you this excited.
I know!
That was the big punch you were going to give me when I responded?
I know! Oh, Lord. Well, we've had better beginnings, but anyway. Oh, Lordy, Lord. I am really excited. I'm very excited about this. We've been trying to do this for a while. So I'm glad that we are doing it today. And for people who didn't get those clues, we are talking about one of my favorite shows of all time, Friends. Yes, we're talking about Friends today on Going Hollywood.
You know, I didn't tell you when we decided this that I think Friends sucks.
No, I'm not going to buy it, Brad, because we've already had this discussion. Because I already asked you okay, here's the background on this, okay? Because we're kind of going out of our parameters. You know, we usually stop at 1990, and Friends started in 1994. But so when I very hesitantly suggested it to Brad because I've been in such a Friends mode, and you said this to me, that's why you didn't fool me, because I said, would you consider talking about Friends? Thinking maybe you hated it. And you said, no, I would love to talk about it because it's such a important show in television history. Do you remember saying that to me?
I do, and I said that it's hard to find anybody that doesn't love the series.
Right? Well, I know a couple people who don't, but they're old and curmudgeon.
Oh, I know a few, but there's a lot to hate here if you want to dig into it. But
Yeah, but this is not that.
And we'll get into those. I have a couple episodes that actually touch on those. So
this is for me, it's a celebration. And
I agree.
I wanted to do Friends because I've been, ever since Lisa Kudrow came back in the final season of The Comeback, I was so bereft of Valerie Cherish, of not seeing Valerie Cherish. And I thought, well, I'll watch a couple Friends episodes. And boy, did I get back into it. Poor Michael. Poor Michael is so happy he never has to hear again because it was driving him crazy, all the clapping. And I just absolutely fell in love with the show again, as I did when it first aired.
Well, I'm going to throw some trivia at you just to depress you.
Oh,
and maybe a large number of our audience.
okay.
Ben, Ross's son,
Yeah.
today would be 32 years old,
Mm.
older than the original cast, and Monica and Chandler's children will have just graduated college about a year ago, maybe this year.
And so would Emma, Rachel's daughter, would be like what, 30 probably, somewhere around there. No, not 30.
Probably. I'm not sure what year Emma was born.
No, she'd be in her mid-20s. She'd be in her mid-20s. That's, you know what? That's not that depressing. That's not that depressing to me. I mean, look, did you see the reunion special from 2021 when they did the thing on HBO with James Corden?
I did. I didn't watch it for this episode, but I did watch it back when it came out.
So, I mean, you know, we all know we're all 30 years older. It's just there's no way to escape it. But what's so wonderful is going back and watching this show again, because this is our generation. This is Generation X. And I think that's what a lot of people who aren't in Generation X maybe have problems with this show, because these are our people. This is when they were 30, I was 30 or a little bit older, you know, and it's so I think that's why I identify it with so much. Also, because I used to see Matt LeBlanc at auditions all the time. And yeah, anyway, we won't go there. And, you know, it's just funny that so much of this is my generation. This speaks to me, this show, and everything that was happening before cell phones, before the internet, you know, when you actually had to go out and socialize and relate to people. And when there were places like coffee shops where everybody was actually talking to each other and not sitting next to each other on their phones, texting each other. It's just so silly.
You know, what I miss about this era was, you know, back when we were able to, on virtually no pay, afford huge, luxurious apartments in big cities. You know, as white folk, we had no friends with any diversity.
No diversity. It should be called White Friends.
We did all
actually,
kinds of
show.
homophobic jokes, and everybody laughed. No, I don't mean those are some of the things that actually some of the episodes I love the episodes I chose, but they do touch on those that people complain. Yes. And it's funny that we can look back at those and just think that was nuts, and still love the show.
What I love is that the creators and the actors were not tempted ever to go back and revisit this show. That's why the reunion was as themselves, not as the characters.
Yes.
And like they did with Sex and the City, and try to make up for all that. They're like, no, it was of that time. It was of that era. Yes, we know there are problems here. There's problematic storylines, problematic characters, problematic comments. However, that was the time.
Yes.
And as I've said a million times, you can't cancel the past. You just have to try to do better. And I really feel that this, although yes, sometimes I'm like, really, did you just really say that, Chandler? Did you really say that? I still laugh because it's still funny. It's still wonderfully written and hysterically funny, in my opinion. Witty, so funny.
I agree 100%. If these things happened in a show today, I would cringe. But whether you like it or not, you have to compartmentalize it.
Yeah,
there, I got it out.
You did. Good for you. Good for you. So we've got Friends, which ran on NBC from September 22nd, 1994 to May 6th, 2004. 10 years, 236 episodes. For anybody who doesn't know what Friends is about, hello, what the hell? It's 6 young men and women living in the same apartment complex and facing life and love together in Manhattan. And as Brad said, living in impossibly wonderful apartments, having absolutely so much time to socialize and hang out at coffee shops, even though they have full-time jobs. Yeah, it's as we said with that girl, aspirational. There's actually a term. It's called aspirational normalcy, which that's the last time you're going to hear me say that. But that's what this is. That's what this was designed to be, aspirational normalcy. So, you know, just take that for whatever it is.
Actually, I have a question. You said that they live in the same apartment complex. Now, Ross had a separate apartment somewhere.
Yeah.
Did we ever see where Phoebe lived? I don't recall that ever.
Yeah.
Oh, we did. Okay.
Rachel lived with Phoebe for like half a season, and then they had a fire in their apartment because Rachel kept her straightening iron. Is that what that's called? Her curling iron, but that straightens hair, and started a fire.
Hair
so then
straightener, yeah.
Rachel moved in with hair straightener, and then why couldn't I think of that? And then Rachel moved in with Joey. So yes, we did see Phoebe's apartment. Do we want to go? Do you want to go through the cast? Do you want me to go through the cast in case these people don't know who these people are? What do you think?
Oh, you can go through the cast.
Okay. So and here's something interesting. This is alphabetical because, and we'll get into this in the parody and how they all were 6 of 1. So we have, of course, the marvelous, wonderful, beautiful Jennifer Aniston as Rachel Green. We have Courtney Cox, the luminous Courtney Cox, as Monica Gellerbing. I'm going to use full names. We have the fabulously talented Lisa Kudrow as Phoebe Buffet Hannigan. We have the very sexy Matt LeBlanc as Joey Tribbiani, the hysterically funny Matthew Perry as Chandler Bing, and my secret crush, yes, it's true, David Schwimmer as Ross Geller. So these are our friends. And we also had Paul Rudd, James Michael Tyler as Gunther, Maggie Wheeler as Janice, full name Janice Littman Goralnik, Nay Hosenstein, Tom Selleck, Jessica Hecht, Jane Sibbett, and a whole slew of 1990s movie stars in this show. Julia Roberts, Brad Pitt, Bruce Willis, Sean Penn. It's insane. It's insane, the people who came on this show.
It really is. And you mentioned your crush. Who plays Ross? David Geller. David Schwimmer.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people have said that. And during the series run, I didn't think so. Now I look back, I'm like, wow, he was really cute. I had, like many, I had the massive hots for Matt LeBlanc. And it started back. I remembered when that show started, and I'm like, that is the guy from the Heinz ketchup commercial.
Yes, exactly.
When that show came on, and then he ended up on Married with Children, and then he got his own series, that horrible series. What was it, with Carla's husband from Cheers?
Who, Matt LeBlanc?
Yes.
He did Joey, and then he did episodes.
Okay.
Oh, there was. Oh, yes. Man, what's it called? I know exactly what you mean. It was after episodes, but I can't think of the name of it.
Oh, it wasn't Carla's husband. It was he was on Married with Children as a guy that was after the blonde, whatever her name was, on the show. And they spun him off. But he was really hot. But boy,
it was a Man with a Plan. Are you talking about Man with a Plan? It ran like 4 years.
It may have been.
Okay.
I think he and his dad were always trying, whatever. He had the TV series that wasn't very good, and he was on Married with Children, but I will always remember him as the Heinz ketchup hot boy that's waiting for the ketchup to fall from several stories up, as well as he was on the cover of Spartacus, the gay travel magazine.
Oh, you go, Matt LeBlanc. Did he know that?
You don't remember that? Did you know that? Yes, because I remember seeing it. After the Heinz ketchup commercial, I was underage, but I went to an adult bookstore, and there was Spartacus with his picture, and I was so excited. I'm like, oh, my God, he's gay. And, of course, he said, no.
For the kids out there, Spartacus was a gay travel guide.
Yes.
That talked about all the cities you could go to. And you know what makes me think of is that funny line when he says to Chandler, I'm just going to ask you this once. Were you or were you not on a gay cruise? Because anyway, I'm not going to do that.
So to further explain for those, it was a typical early modeling job where you have no rights whatsoever. You just model, and they bought his picture to be on the magazine. Yeah. Or so the story goes.
I forgot two people, and I'm sorry I did that because two of my very favorite people in the show are Christina Pickles.
Oh, one of my favorite actresses.
And Elliot Gould as Monica and Ross's parents. The Gellers, and they are so deliciously funny. Christina Pickles has some of the funniest takes in this. She's just a brilliant actress. She is. And Elliot Gould, could you see anybody who looks more like David Schwimmer than Elliot Gould? I mean, it's kind of crazy. I wonder if Jason's like, hey, are you my half brother? Because it's nuts.
And you remember where I loved Christina
Christina Pickles?
And you remember
from St. Elsewhere, of course.
Yes. She was my favorite character on St. Elsewhere, and I was so excited. I loved her on this series. Did you mention, by the way, Marlo Thomas when you gave the list of people that have been on the show?
I didn't. I did talk about her in our That Girl episode, but no, I didn't mention Marlo Thomas as Rachel's mother and Ron Liebman as Rachel's father. If that matters to anybody. So I have a couple. We'll go into our little background of the series. Of course, we always do. But I did have a couple trivia questions for you, Brad. And I just want to see if you knew this.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. No, well.
You know how my memory is.
So the series won 6 Primetime Emmy Awards from 62 nominations. And it won 1 Emmy for Outstanding Comedy Series in its 8th year, which also happened to be when the year the show was the most watched program in the United States. That's very odd. That's very unusual for a TV show to hit number 1 in its 8th year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But it was also because it was post 9/11, and people truly looked at Friends as comfort food during this very difficult time. And they think that's why it probably hit number 1. But do you know who was the only actor out of this 6 incredible murderers row of comic actors never to be nominated for an Emmy?
I'm going to guess Matt LeBlanc.
Nope, you would be wrong. I'm sorry. Good guess, though. You had 1 out of 6. What is that? Less than 25%, certainly. No, this is really sad. The only actor to never receive an Emmy nomination was, ironically, the most famous one when the show started, Courtney Cox. She never got a nomination. And I think Courtney Cox's work in this show is so outstanding as Monica. The depths, the levels she gives Monica are fantastic. I don't understand that.
I have a guess why.
Why do you
have a guess why.
Why do you think?
She's the one that seemed the most natural.
Yeah.
She wasn't playing I mean, she had her quirks, obviously, and that was part of what made Monica funny. But she didn't feel like she was playing a character as much as the rest of them. And that's not a diss on the rest of them.
I can see that. It's almost like, yeah, I get that. She was the air quotes normal one, even though she wasn't.
Yeah.
And that's because Courtney Cox is such a skilled actress that she was able to bring those kind of quirks to Monica. Mm-hmm. I can see what you're saying. I can see what you're saying. Do you know who the only actor to win an Emmy in a lead category was? Leading.
Oh, for this show?
No, for That Girl. Yes, for this show.
I didn't think anybody did. This is going to be a total guess. I'm going to say Schwimmer.
No.
Boy, I'm striking out.
Jennifer Aniston won Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy.
Oh, you said actress.
Actress. Yes, I'm sorry. In 2002. However, Lisa Kudrow won an Emmy in 1998 for Best Supporting Actress. And this is what's interesting. So up until 2002, they all submitted themselves as supporting. And then after 2002, they all submitted themselves as lead. It's all part of that all for one and one for all manner that the actors had. They didn't do anything without it being for everybody. And we'll get into how that went on. So, the show is ranked in the top 10 every single year. Number 1, as I said, in its 8th year. And what's amazing about Friends is that it was one of the last, or I don't know if there are that many multi-cam shows anymore, really. Certainly that are filmed, no. But Friends had the longest shoots of almost any sitcom, sometimes upwards of 5 hours to film 22 minutes. That's how exacting the producers and the creators and the writers were to make sure they were getting the best joke and the best take that they possibly could. Now, when we talked about Lucy, I told you, Lucy usually shot a half hour and an hour and a half. It was very fast. Friends would take up to 6 hours to film one 22-minute episode. It's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing how exacting they were. Exhausting, too, I'm sure.
Yeah. And that doesn't surprise me at all.
A couple other things that I just want to mention before we get into the background. So Friends started many trends, and I think the one that we can all point to and the one that's most famous is the Rachel. Do you know what the Rachel is, Brad?
Well, I certainly remember when everybody had Rachel's hair.
Yes.
Or at least a lot of women had Rachel's hair.
It's the haircut that Jennifer Aniston had in the first 2 years of the show, which started a fashion trend, a trend which she hated. She really, really did not like the fact that her haircut was so famous and that she was known for this haircut. It really bothered the actress. And did you know that the original concept of the show, the main couple was going to be Joey and Monica and not Ross and Rachel? Did you know that?
No, I didn't. That's really hard to imagine.
Well, but
Very, very hard to imagine.
when you think about it, I mean, Courtney Cox and Matt LeBlanc, two of the most beautiful people ever to be on television, and they kind of hint at it when they do some of the flashback episodes that maybe there was a little chemistry. But when they hired these actors and they began working on this show, they really saw that the real meat of this entire series was between Ross and Rachel. And that was the through line, basically, of the entire series. Even though, as a couple, the characters were only together for about a year and a half. But over 10 years, that was the driving force of this show, was will they, won't they, will they, won't they, will they, won't they. So I think it was kind of interesting that was the original driving force.
Yeah, I would never have guessed that.
So we're going to, as we always do, we're going to talk about 4 episodes. I picked 2. Brad picked 2. It was so difficult. I always say that. But when a show has 236 episodes, it was so difficult to pick 2, especially because I love so many episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have a couple honorable mentions. But before we get into that, we are going to I'll do a little history of the show and how it all came about and the casting and all that stuff. Do you have anything that you want to bring up, Brad, before we get into the history?
No, that we did touch on I did. I watched the first episode and the last episode, which was interesting. The first episode was kind of painful. Not that it was bad, but it became so polished later that it really stood out that it was not. But they really started out the gate really well. But no, I have a list of things, but you're the film historian, so I'm going to let you go for it.
TV historian at this moment.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Just interject when you want to. Just wave your hand up so I can see you, and I'll know to stop talking. So when Kaufman and Crane began developing Friends, the working title was Insomnia Cafe. Now, you used to live in Los Angeles?
Yes.
Do you remember Insomnia Cafe on Beverly by CBS?
I remember Jitters. I remember Buzzed. I don't remember Insomnia off the top of my head. No.
So, listeners, back in the 90s, there was a coffee house on Beverly Boulevard near CBS called Insomnia Cafe that looked like Central Perk, had the same kind of eclectic furniture, kind of hipster vibe. And Marta Kaufman, one of the creators of Friends, said that she was driving down Beverly Boulevard and looked over and saw Insomnia Cafe and thought, oh, interesting. And that stuck in her head. So when they were developing the show, the original title was Insomnia Cafe. And then after several rewrites, they changed it to 6 of 1 as 6 characters, 6 of 1. And then the final working title was Friends Like Us. And when the pilot was filmed, it was called Friends Like Us.
Well, I think 6 of 1 is a terrible title. I'm glad they didn't go with that. Wasn't Friends Like Us the original name of Ellen's series?
That's why they didn't do it. Good point, Brad. You caught that.
Okay.
No, Ellen's show was called These Friends of Mine before they changed it to Ellen. But that's exactly why they dropped the Like Us from the title, was because people thought it sounded too much like Ellen's show.
I just fell for it.
If they're worth a lot of money. I've seen them. If you see the ticket for the original filming of the pilot episode of Friends, it says Friends Like Us. So it was called Friends Like Us when they were first filming it. So what happened was that Marta Kaufman and her friend David Crane developed a show. They had met when they were both actors in New York, and they developed a show about their own experiences living in New York in their 20s and their friends. In the entire pitch of Friends, it's so beautifully succinct. It's about that time in your life when your friends are your family. And I don't know about you, Brad, but my early to mid to late 20s, that's what it was. My friends were my family. I think everybody goes from that. You're out of college and you're beginning your life, and but you haven't quite gotten to the point where you're getting married or you're having kids. And it's that time period. And believe it or not, there weren't a lot of shows on the air which dealt with that particular time in people's lives. So it was really kind of a fresh concept in 1994, if you can believe that.
I can't really say I was kind of a heavy partier that time. I don't remember anything at all. No, I was a pretty heavy partier, but no, my friends were my family. Totally.
So Marta Kaufman and David Crane, when they met, they were actors, as I said, in New York, and they soon realized they were better writers than they were actors. They started writing theater, and they eventually moved to Los Angeles because that's where the money was. And they began pitching shows to networks. And their very first success was an HBO show called Dream On. And it was one of the very first on the network, of HBO. This was before Sex and the City, before The Sopranos, Dream On. And like we said way back when we were talking about Bewitched, very often in Hollywood, two concepts develop at the same time, independently of each other, and then come together. You remember when we talked about that, Brad?
Yes, I do. I'm still skeptical that is really how it happened. But I think there are spies involved. But yes, I do remember that conversation.
Just go with me on this, please. So anyway.
No, you wouldn't know whether they're spies or not, so I'm not contradicting you.
It's really true. It's really true because while they were developing this show, NBC president Warren Littlefield had passed on the show Living Single. Now, for people who don't know, Living Single is really the Friends before Friends. It was on Fox. And it spoke to this Generation X that we're talking about, to this generation. And he really regretted passing on Living Single. And he wanted another show which spoke to that demographic. So Cheers had ended the season before, Cosby the year before that. All NBC really had was Seinfeld and Mad About You. And they wanted something else on their Thursday night lineup. So enter Kaufman and Crane with their one-sentence pitch, and a TV series was born. And what was important about Friends from the beginning was there were no stars. This was a true ensemble piece. Yes, Courtney Cox had some celebrity because of Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and because of Family Ties. She was on Family Ties. But she was not what
and
you
Bruce
would call.
Springsteen.
And Bruce Springsteen's video, Dancing in the Dark. Is it Dancing in the Dark? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That sounded weird to me for a minute. But there were no stars. This was a true ensemble piece. And NBC was originally nervous about the concept of all these young people, and they wanted Kaufman and Crane to add some older characters. Network executives. It's just like, oh my God. So they also were concerned about it being in a coffee shop, and they wanted them to set it in a diner or a bar, because what other shows were set in diners and bars?
Seinfeld
and Cheers.
Cheers, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
of course you want to copy rather than be unique.
Exactly. And so Kaufman and Crane reluctantly added a character called Pat the Cop. So there was going to be a cop character who came in and out of the coffee house until they realized how really bad this was. And they told
Pat, everybody screamed Pat when he walked in the door.
Pat. They realized, so they said to NBC, please, can we just have their parents on more frequently? And we don't have to have this cop character. And NBC agreed to that.
Good.
So that was it. That was the genesis of the show. And what's really amazing about Friends is that it was really ahead of this whole coffee culture curve that we have. I mean, we think about it now. I can't get through a day without stopping by Starbucks. And if I do, it's not a fun day. You're in Spain. You go to your coffee place frequently, don't you, Brad?
I go out for coffee almost every day. It's a total big coffee culture. Don't go to Starbucks, thank God. But yeah, it's coffee culture here is very different. Wonderful that I was in the heavy coffee back like you were in the U.S. as well.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting that NBC was hesitant about this, because if they could have had a crystal ball and saw and have seen what was to come and know, how coffee culture and all of this would soon be happening, they'd realize they had a real tiger by the tail here with this show. All right, so let's get into the casting of these friends. and where they came from. Because as I said, other than Courtney Cox, who had a little bit of notoriety from her work, these were all unknowns. They were all working actors, but they were all basically unknown. And Kaufman and Crane, when they were writing this pitch in this series, had David Schwimmer in mind for Ross from the beginning. They actually wrote the character of Ross with David Schwimmer's voice in their mind because they had worked with him on a previous pilot of theirs called Couples. And they couldn't get his hangdog expression out of their mind. But the problem was that Schwimmer had quit TV. He had a bad experience on a previous show, and he had quit television, moved back to Chicago where he had a theater company, and he had sworn off television. But they contacted him and they sent him the script, and they told him that this was going to be an ensemble show, not a star-driven show. And that's what appealed to him, the brilliance of the writing of the script, and also the fact that this was going to be true ensemble. No stars in this show. So he agreed to do it. So David Schwimmer was actually the first one cast in this. Does that surprise you, Brad?
Actually, yeah, when I did read that, and I was surprised. I kind of thought it would be one of the others. As I said, none of them were big stars, but I thought it would probably be Courtney Cox or Matt LeBlanc because I at least knew them beforehand, small though they may have been, or Jennifer because of her father. But those were really just guesses. I never would have thought Schwimmer because I really didn't know his career at all until you just told me.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So up next was another interesting, surprising choice. The next person cast was Lisa Kudrow. Now, did you know that?
No, but to me, that was the best casting choice of them all. And it's hard to pick a favorite, but I just, her character got a little too goofy at times, but I just thought she did it incredible. I don't know how anybody can not love Phoebe.
Well, the amazing thing about Lisa Kudrow is that she was a graduate of Vassar,
yes,
who had majored in biology and was about to enter a graduate program in neuroscience when she gave that all up to become a comic.
And weren't her parents
an actress?
Super smart people too?
Yes, her father was a doctor. I mean, she was going to study with her father, but she had this nagging feeling that she wanted to be an actress. She had this nagging desire. And her brother had a good friend named John Lovitz, who had just really hit on Saturday Night Live. Mm-hmm. And he encouraged her. He's like, if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? Now's the time to do it. You're in your mid-20s. Go for it. So she did. She began studying at the very famous improv group called the Groundlings. And then she began to develop characters that started to get attention. And one of those characters was this character, very ditzy character named Michelle. Mm-hmm. And if you know anything about Lisa Kudrow, you know where that's going.
Yes, I do.
And so she began auditioning for small parts on TV, and she booked a part on Mad About You as this kind of ditzy character. She wasn't a waitress yet. She was, I think she was a docent at a museum.
Oh.
And they liked her. They liked her so much, they wanted her to come back as this character, but give this character a different life. And that's how the character of Ursula first began on Mad About You. But did you know this, Brad? She actually booked a big job, a dream job. And it was for a pilot of a show that was beginning that season as well. A very famous show, which ran the same time as Friends, but won all the Emmys. Do you know what show that was?
No, because I only knew her from being Ursula. And I loved her on Mad About You. I love Mad About You. But no, I have no idea.
She booked the role of Roz in the pilot of Frasier.
Oh.
She was the original Roz in Frasier. And she got fired after about 3 days. By James Burrows, by the way. By James Burrows.
I think I did hear that at one time. Now that you mentioned she was fired. And what's the actress name that became Roz?
Perry
I
Gilpin.
adore her. Oh, yes, I adore her. So
yeah, she really was right for Roz. And I think it was actually written with her in mind, but for some reason she couldn't do it. And then they fired Lisa Kudrow, and Perry Gilpin came back and made it a fantastic character. But, she still had Mad About You, thankfully. So it was very difficult for her, but she said, that's showbiz, kids. So she was doing Mad About You, and one of the writers of Mad About You had a boyfriend who, along with his partners, was developing this show. It was David Crane. His boyfriend wrote on Mad About You. So, and they were having a difficult time finding this actress to play this sweet, wafy, flaky character named Phoebe. And she went in to read, and according to Kaufman, the minute she walked in, she nailed the part. She nailed the part of Phoebe, and they wanted to use her. The only problem was that she had a gig on Mad About You that was going to air on the same night as Friends. In fact, Friends was slated to air right after Mad About You. So they're like, how do we have the same actress playing two different characters on the same night on the same network? So they went to the producers of Mad About You and said, could you help us out here? And Danny Jacobson, who produced Mad About You, very, very graciously said, yeah, go ahead, take her. We'll just make some kind of connection. And that's how Ursula became Phoebe's twin. That's how that thing all happened. So that's kind of cool, isn't it? That they worked with each other and then they created this dual character in a way.
Yeah, that is totally cool. That is one of the crossovers that I really loved.
Yeah, it's great. I love Ursula. And Ursula on Mad About You wasn't originally quite as evil as she ended up being on Friends. But that's what the Friends writers did. They made her much more caustic than Phoebe as a kind of a contrast.
And I gotta say between the two shows, Friends feel like real friends, and what I loved about Mad About You, it really felt like a real couple.
Yeah, well,
you believed they were a young couple, so it's no surprise there's a connection between the two series.
They were, and Mad About You was a wonderfully written show too, and incredible actors. So next up was Courtney Cox. Courtney Cox originally was brought in for the role of, who do you think, Brad?
Rachel.
That's right. They wanted her for Rachel. Could you ever see Courtney, knowing what we know now, could you see Courtney Cox as Rachel?
No, but I've given up trying to do those kind of things. It just would have been a different character. Would it have worked? You never know.
Yeah, I agree with you. They wanted her to read for Rachel, and she couldn't see herself as Rachel. She responded more to the role of Monica, Ross's younger sister, tougher sister. And the producers couldn't see this because they had like a Janine Garofalo type in mind for Monica, kind of harder, more edgy type of city character for Monica. But Courtney Cox was adamant. She really wanted to read for Monica. So they said, okay, let her read for Monica. And then we'll cast her as Rachel because we'll say, you know what, you're really not right, but hey, we're going to give you this role. And she read the role of Monica, and Marta Kaufman said she brought levels to Monica that they never expected and that they really loved. So she got the part of Monica. The only problem was now they needed a Rachel. They didn't have a Rachel because they just cast her. So this is where it gets kind of tricky, and I'm not going to go too much into it because I do want to talk about these episodes. But what's really interesting is that Jennifer Aniston, as we said, the daughter of John Aniston, who is a soap star for years on Days of Our Lives.
Victor Kiriakis.
Yes, exactly. And she was Telly Savalas. She's Telly Savalas's goddaughter. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know
Jennifer
that.
Aniston
Nope.
is, yeah. So despite the fact that her father and her mother were both in show business, Jennifer Aniston was a struggling actor. She said she did she was the queen of the failed pilots. She was doing pilot after pilot after pilot. And she had finally booked this pilot of this series called Muddling Through. And it was a summer replacement series. And if it was successful, then it might be added to the CBS fall lineup. It was on CBS. And at this time, they brought her in to read for Rachel. And they had looked at, Marta Kaufman said, a gazillion actresses. And nobody brought the qualities of Rachel to life better than Jennifer Aniston. Because Rachel can be kind of a hard character. She's a little spoiled. She's kind of clueless to other people's feelings sometimes. And what Aniston does, it gives Rachel a softness and a sweetness and a humor that really makes her so much more likable and lovable, don't you think?
Yeah, that I mentioned the pilot or the first episode because I know they changed the name. The unlikability was really there in that first episode. And then it would have been easy to say, I'm going to hate this character, but obviously everybody grew to love her, or they wouldn't have cared about Rachel and Ross.
Exactly. And one of the wonderful things about the show went on is when Reese Witherspoon and later Christina Applegate played Rachel's sisters. And they're just like Rachel was in the beginning. You see how far the character of Rachel came from from the pilot episode. So they're like, okay, what are we going to do here? Kaufman and Crane loved her so much, and they had such a difficult time finding the right actress for this that they agreed to bring her on in what is called second position. Now, that's not a dance move. That's not a ballet term. It is, but not in this case. Basically, what second position meant was CBS had first dibs on her. So if this show she was doing on CBS called Muddling Through was given a go-ahead for the fall season, Friends would have lost Aniston. She would have had to go to this other show. But they liked her so much, they wanted to take the chance. And this was a big chance, because if they filmed the pilot and started filming shows, and then suddenly CBS picked up their option, they would have had to reshoot the pilot and however many episodes Jennifer Aniston had done.
Wow.
So it was really touch and go for a while. I think Jennifer Aniston filmed like 3 or 4 episodes. And for a while, CBS was giving her a hard time about letting her go for Friends. And one of the executives actually said, that show's not going to make you a star. This show's going to make you a star. And Jennifer Aniston was like, what? But thankfully, CBS said, you know what? We're not going to put the show on. You're free. So that's how she was able to do Friends. But for a long time, she filmed like 3 or 4 episodes as Rachel. And had they picked up her, the Muddling Through pilot and put it on the show, they would have had to recast and refilm all those shows, which would have been hugely expensive. TV.
That is amazing and quite an honor as an actor.
Right? You look for work, and suddenly you have 3 jobs at the same time. That's always the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
Another actor who was in a very similar position was Matthew Perry. The role of Chandler was so difficult for them to cast. You know, Chandler is the droll observer of life, the one with the quips, the one-liners, and they couldn't find the right actor at all. They were searching and searching, but they remembered an actor they'd worked with on Dream On, and he was this Canadian actor named Matthew Perry. The only problem was they couldn't bring him in because, just like Jennifer Aniston, he was committed to another series. And the series, do you know anything about this, Brad? The series that Matthew Perry was committed to was called LAX 2194. And it was about baggage handlers at LAX in the year 2194.
Oh, no. Oh, I'm so happy for him.
If you ever see any clips of it, there's like aliens in it, you know, people from outer space. It's the stupidest thing. And, you know, despite the fact that the odds were the show wasn't going to be picked up because it was so ludicrous, they didn't want Kaufman and Crane to hire him. They didn't want another actor in second position. So they kept looking. They saw all these actors, and they found that all these actors they were seeing who were almost good but not quite the right fit were all being coached by Matthew Perry in the role. That's how much he identified with this part and how he wanted to help his fellow actors get this. So eventually they figured, you know what? Go ahead and do it. The executives at Warner Brothers saw the pilot of LAX 2194, agreed the show was so ludicrous, there was no chance of it making on the air. Go ahead and cast Perry. And then finally we had Matt LeBlanc.
Hold on. I got to say something about Chandler.
Yeah.
Chandler is the Andrew McCarthy character on St. Elmo's Fire. Funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's such an original take on it.
Yeah.
There had never been a character like Chandler before. And that's all Matt Perry. That way of speaking,
Mm-hmm.
we start, you know, could I be more excited? That was all Matthew Perry's take. And they were all, Lisa Kudrow said when they all got together for the first read through, table read, she read the character description. She went, oh, great, a gay character. Because it was, you know, Chandler.
Yeah.
And she said, but when he started reading, she said, I couldn't believe the things that he was doing and were coming out of his mouth. He had a completely different take on the part of Chandler than anybody ever expected. And it clearly shows.
Yeah.
And finally, we have, for the part of Joey Tribbiani, we have Matt LeBlanc. Now, Brett, you talked a little bit about Matt LeBlanc. What were you saying about his other noteworthy appearances before this show?
Well, I remember him on Married with Children. He was Christina Applegate's boyfriend, or one of her 10,000 boyfriends. I can't remember her character's name. And as always, he plays an Italian, even though he was not Italian. And at least I don't believe, because his French name, I believe his family background is Canadian. And that other series that he was in, and his modeling days.
Yeah, well, he did a lot of commercials. He started out as a carpenter, and somebody said, "You're really good looking. You should be a model." So he went to go model, but he realized he was too short, but he was perfect for commercials. And he did commercial after commercial after commercial. And then, yeah, he would do guest spots on Married with Children and all these shows. And then finally, he was brought in for the role of Joey. And, Joey is originally written, was kind of sleazy. I mean, you can kind of see it in the pilot, the leather jacket, he's a womanizer, just an unappealing character, just so stereotypical.
Yeah, he was too sleazy. I haven't watched the pilot. He wasn't as likable as lovable Joey. He was dumb, but not adorable dumb.
And that's what Matt LeBlanc brought to that part, was the lovability, the sweetness, the naivete. He said Joey looked on the girls, on Rachel and Phoebe and Monica, as his sisters. He was very protective, and that was the handle he had on Joey, which made the character of Joey so appealing, was because he looked out for them. You know what I mean? They were his little sisters. So the sleaze factor was less and less until he became an adorable character. So that's pretty much the cast coming together. We want to talk about these episodes, Brad. Do we want to start diving into them?
I think we better, or this is going to be a 3-hour episode. We're already pushing it, which we always do with television.
They always run long. All right. So you said you saw the pilot. You watched the pilot. We didn't talk. Pilot's not one of our episodes. What are your thoughts about the pilot?
Well, I kind of said it was excellent for a pilot, and if I saw it for the first time, I don't remember watching it for the first time. I remember the episode. I would have thought it was great. And it was still great, but because, as I said, the characters weren't as polished yet, and weren't the characters we grew to know as much, it was kind of not jarring, but like, this is kind of odd. But it was well done. I mean, certainly set it up well.
What's interesting about the pilot is it is the only episode which has the complete original version of the opening credits. Now, if you've been living under a rock for the past 30 years, you don't know that the theme song to Friends is called "I'll Be There for You," performed by the Rembrandts. And the opening takes place in a fountain. These six adult people are splashing around in a fountain at night. And you first think, what the hell is going on? Why are they splashing around? They're adults. Why are they splashing around in a fountain? And where was that fountain, Brad? Do you know? You know.
It was not far from the Bewitched house, the Stevens house. It was on Warner Ranch.
Exactly.
And I could see myself in the 20s dancing with my friends in a fountain.
I guess so. Depending on how many drinks I'd had. Sure, of course.
Yeah, we were just silly.
Warner Brothers Ranch, which is now gone, but just feet away from the Stevens house on Bewitched. And it was shot at 4 a.m., a very cold night at 4 a.m. The actors didn't understand what the hell they were doing, splashing around in a fountain. But they were good sports and they did it. And Lisa Kudrow said that the person that got them through that was Matthew Perry, because Matthew Perry's comments were, I can't remember when I wasn't in a fountain. We're in a fountain. We're going to splash some more. Oh, you want us to do it? Yeah, just still silly stuff. But the executives were like, why are these people in the fountain? This is not a good opening. So what they agreed to do was, after the pilot, they would cut in scenes from the show. So the fountain thing is kind of bookends. But what's more famous than those 6 people splashing around in a fountain? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's one of the most famous openings of any show.
I agree. And, we don't get those anymore since there aren't openings to TV series, which is really good. But, so much of what we remember about them are the opening theme songs and the openings of the shows. and theirs is definitely iconic.
Yeah, they're important.
Yeah.
They set the tone. They set the tone. They tell the story. It's unfortunate we don't have that many openings anymore. So the thing about Friends is that all the episodes begin with the title, The One That, The One Where, because Kaufman and Crane thought, you know what, when people are talking about this show, they're going to say, the episodes, the one where Monica gets a roommate.
Brilliant.
And that's how they titled all of the episodes, The One With, The One Where. So the pilot is called The One Where Monica Gets a Roommate. And do you want to tell people just a little breakdown of it? It's not one of our episodes, but just to set the tone.
Yeah, so Rachel was going to get married, and she ran out on her fiance.
Yes.
She shows up at the coffee house where Monica is because she and Monica were friends, even though Monica was not invited to her wedding. They kind of had
Yeah,
lost
what's
touch
up with
at
that?
point. And Monica's like, Monica was a little put off by that, and the fact that Rachel had suddenly decided she was moving in with Monica without asking Monica. And much of it had to do with Rachel dealing with leaving her fiance, and we got touches of each character. They did a really good job of introducing each character, so we got to know them really well. We got to see the earliest, not even subtle, that Ross had this crush on Rachel. Had been and still did. He even said, "Can we go out someday?" Which seemed odd that she had just run away from her wedding day, but he did. And that was pretty much how it was set up. It was they did a really good job of introducing all the characters without saying, "This is who Joey is. This is who Monica is."
Yeah, it was a really interesting setup because it begins with all of them just at the coffee house without Rachel and without Ross. Just talking. They're little tiny interspersed little sequences of little quips and little things. They are just sitting around talking at a coffee shop. They're in different positions. It's just a passage of time. And then Ross comes in, who just got divorced because he found out his wife was a lesbian. And that lesbian thing was going through the entire series. So many lesbian jokes, which is one of the things you're like, oh, okay. So anyway, Ross is dejected. He walks in and Joey goes, "This guy says hello. I want to kill myself." Because Ross is just this hangdog, sad person, so depressed about his marriage being over. And he says, "All I want is to be married." And at that exact moment, Rachel comes in her wedding gown. And Chandler, they all look at her, and Chandler says, "And I just won $1 million."
And, I have no problem with the joke being that he had a lesbian wife and didn't know it. That is funny. It's, the other stuff the fact that they started really drilling it into the ground was, along with all their other jokes.
Yes. But it sets up the whole premise of the story is the fact that Ross, I guess we should say Ross and Monica are brother and sister. Ross is Monica's older brother.
Though Ross is the most successful of them when the show begins, he's also the biggest loser.
Yeah, he is kind of. Well, and later on it changes, but yes. So they set up the fact that when Monica and Rachel were in high school together, Ross had a crush on her. And that's how that whole Ross and Rachel, will they, won't they thing began. I like the pilot. I think it's a incredibly well-written pilot.
Yes.
But I see your point about the fact that, Friends really much hit it out of the park as far as audience and as far as characters as sitcoms go. But it grew, and that's what's so wonderful about Friends is these characters, you hope, in any show, will get deeper and have their relationships, and they'll become more human and more identifiable. But still, they did a great job.
I'm not dissing on the pilot at all. It just had become so good that if it was any other show, I would have thought this is great. But it had become so good, it made the pilot stand out as they're not there yet.
Right, exactly. So the first episode we're actually going to talk about officially is mine. And as I said, it was so hard to pick episodes. But I thought this one was really important because it's early on. It's actually season 3, so not that early on. Ross and Rachel are already together. It's called The One Where No One's Ready. Season 3, episode 2. It's written by Ira Ungerleider, directed by Gail Mancuso, and it aired on September 26th, 1996.
buddy boy, here it is. You hide my clothes, I'm wearing everything you own.
Oh my God! That is so not the opposite of taking somebody's underwear.
Look at me, I'm Chandler. Could I be wearing any more clothes? Maybe if I wasn't going commando. Yeah. Whew. I'll tell you, it's hot with all this stuff on. I better not do any, I don't know, lunges.
This one reminded me of one of my favorite Laverne and Shirley episodes.
Oh, really? What?
Which was done in real time. It was done in real time, and they rushed home and had to get ready from the brewery to 2 dates.
Yes, I remember that episode.
And I thought of that the whole time I watched.
Well, that's really interesting
because this was pretty close to real time. If
it was real time,
it wasn't close. Yeah, it was real time.
It was real time. This is the thing. This is a really cool thing about this show. So the plot of the show is really easy. It's Ross is speaking at a museum benefit, and he arrives at Monica's apartment to pick up everybody, only to find out that why is no one ready? And that's what the episode's about. But what's cool is what Brad said is that it takes place in real time. It's the only episode of the entire series that takes place in real time. And what's also interesting about it is it's what's called a bottle show. Mm-hmm. And what a bottle show is it's kind of written as a budget saver because when you get to a certain point in a season, you find you've spent all your money. So you need to shoot an episode that's quick and cheap and doesn't have any guest stars and needs 1 or 2 sets and is pretty easy. And that's what this show was designed as, a bottle show. That's what they call them. But it ended up being anything but, in which I'll talk about. But what I really love about this show is, and what I love about, to me, these are my favorite Friends episodes. It's the episodes where there aren't any guest stars, where it's the 6 people interacting together without the distraction of everybody else. What do you think?
And if you hate the characters, this is the episode that did it. I was so mad at I was so aching for Ross. I wanted to strangle every one of them.
Because no one's getting ready. Everybody's ignoring him. Everybody has their own little situation going on that they're obsessed about, and they're not paying any attention. And Ross is like 20 minutes, 19 minutes, 18 minutes, and nobody's paying attention to him. There's a really silly runner of Chandler and Joey fighting over a chair, which is so funny. And
it would be totally stupid, except it was Chandler and Joey. They're the ones that make it work.
Yeah, and your situation where you get up, you're sitting in a chair, you get up to go to the bathroom, and you come back and your friend's sitting in your chair. And you're like, I was sitting there, like, but you got up. Well, that's what that's about. And they fight over it. But what's so brilliant about the whole thing is that this is the episode where Chandler leaves, puts his tux on, and hides all of Joey's underwear and comes back and tells him. So what does Joey do, Brad?
Joey goes into their apartment, comes back wearing pretty much all of Chandler's clothes, and says a classic line that everyone remembers. I think they showed it in every season during the credits after that, where he throws his arms up and says, "Could I be wearing any more clothes?" And
hey, I'm Chandler. Could I be wearing any more clothes?
And of course, he says the additional 2 words that he didn't make up, but became common vernacular after that he was going commando.
Yeah. He goes, it's awfully hot in here. Maybe if I wasn't going commando, and he starts doing lunges, and Matt Perry's face. It's so funny. It's like Matt LeBlanc says, you hide all my clothes, I'm going to do the exact opposite. So he puts on everything of Chandler's, and it's an iconic scene. It's so funny. Could I be wearing any more clothes? It's very funny. But an interesting thing in this show was, they designed it as a money saver, but they ended up having to stop filming very shortly in because Matt LeBlanc, when he was doing one of the takes diving for the chair, dislocated his shoulder. So they had to stop filming. There was no other scene to film. So they actually didn't end up being a money saver at all. They had to go on and do other episodes later with Joey in a cat with his arm in a sling, and they explained it that he had jumped on his bed and fell off. And then they had to go back once his shoulder was healed and finish the rest of the filming. So it really didn't save money. But what it did give us was a really, really funny, wonderful show, in my opinion. I love this show.
I agree.
I wanted to do a show where Ross and Rachel were together because so many of our episodes we're going to talk about, they're not together anymore. And I thought it was important to have one with Ross and Rachel together. So I love this episode. It's a lot of fun.
I agree 100%. Should we go on to mine?
Yeah, let's go into yours. Brad's up next.
Okay. The two I picked were because I just remembered moments in the episodes. I couldn't even remember the details. You know how I am. I can never remember the details. I just remembered moments that made me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the one I remembered Monica wearing a turkey on her head. And you said to me, no, it was Joey that wore the turkey on his head. And I searched online, Monica wears the turkey on her head, and nothing came up. Everything came up, Joey wearing the turkey on his head.
Yeah.
So I thought, was I wrong about this? But I wasn't.
No.
But anyway. So this is called The One with All the Thanksgivings, and I was a little reluctant as well because it sounds like a clip episode, which apparently is something the network was afraid people would think it was.
Right. They were, yeah.
But these were really flashbacks and hysterical flashbacks because in addition to Joey wearing the turkey...
Well, wait, introduce the episode, Brad. What's the episode?
Oh,
What's it called?
sorry. This is season 5, episode 8. It aired on November 19th, 1998. It was written by Gregory S. Malins and directed by Kevin S. Bright, one of the creators of the series. And it's called The One with All the Thanksgivings, as I said.
Hello?
Phoebe?
Joey? What's going on?
What?
Oh my God!
I know! It's stuck!
Steph, how did it get on?
Well, I put it on to scare Chandler.
Oh my God! Monica's gonna totally freak out!
Well, then help me get it off. Plus, well, it smells really bad in here.
Of course it smells really bad. You have your head up a dead animal. Oh, Monica. Oh. Hey. Hey, did you get the turkey bait? Oh my God! Oh my God! Who is that?
It's Joey.
And basically the gang are sitting around reminiscing about Thanksgiving past, and they start getting into the worst Thanksgivings they ever had. And that's where you think, oh, they're going to go into a flashback episode, and it really doesn't. We learn about Chandler's unhappy childhood Thanksgiving, which was when his father came out. Joey getting his head stuck in a turkey, which to me was one of the funniest. The biggest turkey ever in history.
Yes, the biggest turkey ever.
Phoebe going into her past life episode memories, and how Monica accidentally cut off Chandler's toe. There are challenges with this episode, such as we have the Friends ongoing fat jokes.
Yeah, because we have the return of fat Monica. When Monica was in high school, she was overweight, and they make lots and lots of fat jokes about fat Monica.
It is cringy. I will say though that in this episode, it wasn't as much making fun of her as it has in other episodes. Like other episodes, they had her dancing and look, she's fat and she's dancing. There wasn't as much of that. I am okay with when you consider how sickeningly skinny she and Jennifer Aniston were.
Yes.
I have no problem with the fact that you do a flashback and it shows they're really overweight. I'm okay with that. But usually when they did those or they talked about it, was a lot of fat jokes. This one I don't feel like did it as much. Chandler called her fat, which was one of the issues in the story. And that was okay too. I felt like that was realistic. So it made me uncomfortable, but not as much as some of the others. So that's where the story goes. That's how it begins. And we get 2 great guest stars that we talked about before. Actually, 3 guest stars. The one is very, very fast. We have Elliot Gould and Christina Pickles as Monica and Chandler's parents.
Monica and Ross's parents. The Gellers.
Monica, yes. Boy, I'm getting all these. I know who these people are. Trust me. And then we have Morgan Fairchild as Nora Tyler Bing.
Yes.
Very, very fast.
Yeah.
And then we have Alec Mapa
Yes.
as the housekeeper. And very funny.
I know, it's funny, right?
Yes, it was.
Very funny, very funny. I love all the Friends Thanksgiving episodes.
Yes.
This isn't my favorite Thanksgiving. My favorite Thanksgiving episode is where Rachel makes the trifle with the beef that tastes like feet.
That was very funny.
I love that episode. But this is
I will say that my all-time favorite Thanksgiving episode of any series is the Cheers one with the food fight at Carla's house. But I think it was Carla's house. But this is a great one. This ranks up there.
I love the fact that Friends, the creators, Kaufman and Kevin Bright and David Crane, made Thanksgiving episodes a staple of every season because it's telling you the theme of the show, the time when your friends are your family. And, we've all had Friendsgivings, if we couldn't go home to see our family for Thanksgiving. And that's what we're having here. We're having all these Friendsgivings, and I love that. What I love about this episode, a couple things. I love the flashbacks. I love the 80s fashions. Hello. I love Chandler's flock of seagulls hair.
Oh my God. I remember that distinctly the first time it aired and laughing till my stomach hurt.
And then he comes back the next year and they look like Miami Vice.
Yes.
They look like Miami Vice. It is so funny. They got the stubble. I remember that so well. The stubble, the suits, the pastel suits. It's hysterical. I love the flashbacks. I love Judy Geller. Christina Pickles is so funny. The boy who doesn't like Thanksgiving. Oh, well, thanks for bringing him to Thanksgiving. And then I love Phoebe has the best line here because Joey says to Phoebe, when she's talking about her past lives, Joey says, I can't remember any of my past lives. And Phoebe says, of course not, honey. You're brand new.
And the look on his face is so adorable. He's like so excited and happy about it.
Matt LeBlanc has the best comic facial reactions of any actor. He is so, his reactions to everything are so funny and it's just so natural. Mm-hmm. They're not forced. It's just Joey's reactions to things are so funny and so much like Joey that you just love it. I love that.
I agree.
I love it. You know what's funny about this episode though is that apparently Rachel has met Chandler 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
She meets him in this episode. She met him in the first episode. She meets him later in the one with all the flashbacks when Janice asks them if they've ever fooled around with each other. And in the very last season, she meets him again when Monica and Rachel crash a frat party that they're at. So I think it's funny. Rachel's met Chandler 4 times and she never remembers that she met Chandler.
And it's also famous for one more thing. Maybe at least one more. There's maybe more.
Okay, what's that?
It was the first time what? What did Chandler do?
The first time Chandler told Monica, I love you. But it wasn't like I love you. It was, he said it offhandedly. And it's when Monica has her head in the turkey.
Yes.
So you're right. She has her head in the turkey. And he goes, you're so funny. That's so great. I love you. And she hears him and she's like, what? What did you say?
And the audience goes nuts, of course. And let me get, studio audiences sometimes drive me crazy, but when I watch Friends, I really feel like the studio audience is real.
Well, apparently they were just like, it was like a revival meeting when the studio audience was in there. They were just so hyped up to be there, to have these shows that they usually actually had to lessen the laughs. They actually, it's unusual. Usually you add, and they did that sometimes.
Exactly.
But mostly they would have to lessen the laughs because they were too much. In fact, Lisa Kudrow said that she used to get irritated when the audience was laughing too long. She goes, it's not that funny. In her head, she'd be like, it's not that funny. Why do you stop laughing? You're ruining the timing of the show. It's a fun episode. I love that episode. So my next episode is the one where he tells Monica he loves her for real. And it's only 6 episodes after that. And to me, this is the best season of Friends. I love seasons 4 through probably 7. The whole Monica and Chandler thing, that whole run of episodes is, you can't touch them. There's one classic after the other. But this episode, in my opinion, is one of the best episodes of television ever.
And you're not the only one. I see it rated as top very frequently.
It's like the Chuckles Bites the Dust of Friends. And yes, It's the episode where they don't know, we know, they know, we know. Which I love. It's called The One Where Everyone Finds Out. It's from season 5, episode 14, written by Alexa Jung, directed by Michael Lembeck, and it aired on February 11th, 1999.
Joey, do they know that we know?
No.
Joey?
They know you know.
Oh, I knew it! Oh, I cannot believe those two. They thought that they could mess with us? They're trying to mess with us? They don't know that we know they know we know. And Joey, you can't say anything.
Couldn't if I wanted to.
So indeed, this is the episode where Monica and Chandler's secret relationship reaches a peak. And everybody basically finds out, like in the title of the show, because they had slept in London at Ross's wedding. And all through this next season, they've been carrying on secretly. And one by one, Joey finds out, and then Rachel finds out, but they're still keeping it a secret. And now Phoebe finds out because they're across the street in Ugly Naked Guy's apartment because Ross is going to rent it, hopefully. And Phoebe sees Monica and Chandler having sex, basically, up against the window. And that's when she goes, when she first sees, she goes, Monica and Chandler, my eyes, my eyes, my eyes. It's so funny. So, but that Ross doesn't know. And Rachel says, I know and Joey knows, but Ross doesn't know. So you have to keep it down, Phoebe. So they go back to Joey, and Joey's relieved because he doesn't want to keep this secret. And he's like, great, now we can tell everybody. And Phoebe says, or we could go along with them and have a little fun of our own. So it's basically just a big episode about chicken. They're playing chicken with each other, basically. The stakes get higher and higher with each scene because Monica and Chandler find out that Rachel and Phoebe and Joey know, and they want to raise the stakes even more. And that's where we get they don't know we know they know we know. I'm not explaining it well, and I'm sure people have seen this episode. So it's not, I'm not ruining it that much. But the brilliance of Lisa Kudrow saying, they're trying to mess with us? Wait a minute. They don't know we know they know we know. Yeah. and she says, and Joey, you can't tell them. And Matt LeBlanc says, couldn't if I wanted to. This is such a funny episode. In the end, of course, it reaches a fever pitch where Phoebe pretends she's got the hots for Chandler and she wants to sleep with him. And they do this whole game of chicken at the end until Chandler breaks down and says, I can't do this. I can't do this. And Phoebe goes, why? And he says, because I'm in love with Monica. I'm in love with Monica. And that's the first time he actually says it for real. I'm in love with Monica. And it's what's wonderful about it is it's such a funny episode, and it has this great emotional payoff at the end of them saying, I love you to each other. And I think that's what makes this a perfectly crafted episode.
I agree, though there is a line that I think most of us remember more than Chandler saying, I love you. What line is that? Other than the one you just said about Phoebe.
What's that?
Get off my sister.
Because in the coda, Ross is in the apartment and sees Monica and Chandler going at it again, and that's where it ends. So then Ross finds out. So everybody finds out that these two are together. And that was really, the idea of Monica and Chandler getting together was not supposed to be the driving force of the rest of the series. But what happened was when they had that little shot where where Chandler's in bed and Ross comes in and then leaves, and Monica comes out of the covers and she goes, do you think he saw me? The audience reaction was almost 3 minutes of hoots and screams. And Kaufman and Crane said, we have something here. Wait a minute, we got to listen to the audience here. They love this. And that's why Chandler and Monica became the driving force of the next, and eventually moved in together and got married. And so it's really kind of interesting. They were such smart producers in the fact that they listened to their audience, and the audience basically told them where the show was going to go. But this relationship between Monica and Chandler was never supposed to be anything other than oops, what did we do last night? And it became, the rest of the show.
it made the show better for me. The reveal
Right.
with them in bed together is in my brain forever. I remember the excitement, the hooting. I was with my ex and we were both cheering on, laughing hysterically, loving it. And don't anybody get upset with me here. Their relationship, I really loved. I finally have reached the point, certainly later in the series, of every time Rachel and Ross kissed or they said, I love you or whatever, I was like, yawn, yawn. We've been here 10 years. You know, moonlighting didn't go on this long with their whole will they or won't they. It just, for 10 years, it was too long. And not that I never lost excitement over it, but it dragged on. And it was like, end it or make it happen. And I loved these two as a couple. They were great as a couple. They were believable as a couple. Two very different characters coming together.
Yeah, you know, in a way, it's the real emotional core of Friends. You know, Ross and Rachel is the drama. You know, they were, first of all, they were never a good couple together. But everybody wanted them together because it's that unattainable thing. It's the fairy tale, the princess, that whole thing. Chandler and Monica is the real couple. That's the emotional core. They didn't have the emotional ups and downs that Ross and Rachel had. They were a stable couple. And as you see through the show, they end up getting married and then adopting a child and moving to the suburbs. That's reality, you know, and it really grounded the show and gave it an emotional depth and an emotional core that I don't think it would have had without that. And I also don't think the show would have run 10 seasons because this relationship really does become the driving force of the remaining seasons of the show.
Yeah, this was I was very happy that I remembered everything in this episode. I didn't remember which episode it was. So when you said it, I'm like, okay, we'll see what it is. And then the whole time I'm sitting there, oh, I'm so glad Tony picked this out.
Well, when we were thinking of episodes, I mean, I really wanted to do the quiz, the trivia game episode. I wanted to do the one after Vegas where Ross and Rachel get married and they're drunk. I love that episode. But I knew this one. I mean, I can't I can't talk about Friends and not talk about They Don't Know We Know They Know We Know. I mean, because I think it's such I say this word too much, such a brilliant, brilliant script. It was nominated for 3 Emmys, Outstanding Directing, Outstanding Writing, big surprise, and Lisa Kudrow was nominated for Outstanding Supporting Actress in this because she's amazing in this show. She is so fucking good as Phoebe in this episode because she's the driving force behind it. She's the one who's making all these things, you know, raising the stakes.
Her coming on to Chandler was so funny.
I'm really looking forward to you and me having sexual intercourse. You should be. I'm very bendy. It's just like, she's so great. This episode also has the last appearance of Ugly Naked Guy, which, of course, had run its course. I mean, come on. But it also has the first appearance of Hugsy. Do you know who Hugsy was, Brad?
Hugsy. I'm trying to think of something that would have been on there. Hugsy. No, I don't.
Hugsy is Joey's bedtime penguin pal. Remember?
Oh, no.
Because he goes, you got secrets? I got secrets of my own. And they say, you don't have any secrets, Joey. And he says, yeah, you don't know about Hugsy, my bedtime penguin pal. And then in the later scene, he's holding Hugsy. You know what I mean? So first appearance of Hugsy. So that's great for that reason. But yeah, I love this episode. It is truly, in my opinion, the best episode of the show, hands down.
I don't know about that because it'd be really hard for me to pinpoint that. But I definitely way up to the top. And it could be my favorite. I don't know. I can't. It's hard for me to remember them.
All right, Brad, you're up.
Okay, this is season 8, episode 9. It originally aired November 22nd, 2001. The title is The One with the Rumor, and it was written by Shayna Goldberg Meehan and directed by Gary Halverson.
I'm sorry, what?
I said it was typical. Typical of you. Rachel Green, Queen Rachel, does whatever she wants in the little Rachel land.
Seriously, who is this guy?
I'm sorry. Do you have a problem with me?
I don't know. Do I? Do I?
I think you do.
Apparently you were a little mean to him in high school.
A little mean. You made my life miserable.
I had no idea. I'm sorry.
Well, you should be. Screw it. Bring on the yams.
Well, but you've worked so hard.
Yams!
Okay. Will, I just want to say that I'm real sorry for whatever I did to you in high school.
Oh, it wasn't just me. We had a club.
You had a club?
That's right. The I Hate Rachel Green Club.
Oh, my God. So what, you all just joined together to hate me? Who else was in this club?
Me and Ross.
No need to point. She knows who Ross is.
Now, the reason why I chose this episode is I remembered it being funny, but most of all, I remembered Brad Pitt.
Yes.
And the reason I remembered Brad Pitt, first of all, I remember him being absolutely gorgeous in this.
Why would you remember Brad Pitt? For what reason would you possibly remember Brad Pitt?
Well, a couple reasons. One, it seemed odd to see a movie star in a sitcom that I don't recall. I know he was on Dallas, but was he ever in a sitcom before?
No.
Of any kind?
No, but this show was full. I mean, Julia Roberts was on this show, for God's sake.
Yes. But she did humor, and I guess Brad did humor as well. Yes, I should.
No, but I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
The superpower that Brad Pitt had, and granted he was married to Jennifer at the time, it just seemed, it would normally have seemed out of place, but he seemed so comfortable doing it and fit so well with the rest of the cast. I'm sure it's because he knew them all well at that point. He just clicked.
Yeah.
He acted like this guy who I think of some of the, I think Brad's greatly underrated because I think he's done incredible roles. And for him to be on the sitcom, and I don't mean to disparage sitcoms at all, to him click in a role that was secondary, and he looked like he was having a ball doing this episode. His laughs seemed legitimate and real.
So what happened?
Okay, so Monica invites old high school friend Will Colbert to Thanksgiving dinner. Rachel knew him in high school, but doesn't know that he still hates Rachel and how she treated him in school. And during conversations, he reveals, he just digs at Rachel constantly through this episode. Just dig. And because
it's so funny.
First of all, everybody expects him to still be overweight and not a good-looking guy. And of course, they walk in the door, and I can't remember what Phoebe said, but her reaction was just.
She looks up at God and she goes, "Well done," something like that. Thank you, something like that.
Oh yes, yes, exactly. God, thank you, or whatever. So anyway, during conversation, she reveals that he and Ross founded the I Hate Rachel Green Club and that he spread a rumor about her years earlier, which, again, the troublesome part here, that I think they used the word hermaphrodite because intersex, I don't think was a common term at that time.
Yeah.
And I know there was backlash about that, as many other things. Meanwhile, Joey insists on eating an entire turkey by himself and ends up wearing Rachel's maternity pants to make room for dessert. And what's funny is when I chose this episode, I completely forgot it was another Thanksgiving episode. So I didn't purposely choose.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
I only remembered that Brad Pitt was on there. I didn't know why he showed up.
Yeah, the rumor was about the hermaphrodite cheerleader from Long Island who was supposed to be Rachel. It got a lot of, especially now, it got a lot of criticism, a lot of backlash because of that. It's a funny episode. My favorite line is when she first walks in, when Rachel first walks in, Brad Pitt sees her, and she's holding some yams, and he says to Ross, "Look at her standing there with those yams. My two greatest enemies, Ross, Rachel Green and complex carbohydrates." It's a funny episode. But the reason is, and I agree with you 100%, how good Brad Pitt is, how comfortable he is. You'd think he'd be a little awkward, but he's not. He's so funny, and he was actually nominated for an Emmy for this. And I think he's...
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and for outstanding guest actor in a comedy series, and I think he's wonderful in this episode. Yeah, it's cringy. There are cringy moments, but it's a very, very funny episode. And do you remember that Ross? Do you remember that Rachel started the rumor about Ross making out with their 50-year-old librarian?
Yeah. Which turned out not to be a rumor.
It was fact. And Ross says, she didn't look 50. And Chandler goes, did she look 16?
I will say the way they made jokes about her at 50 years old, you would have thought the woman was 90.
Oh, yeah. And that was problematic too, but maybe just for me. It's a fun episode though. I'm glad you chose it. I love, like I said, I love the Thanksgiving episodes. They're all outstanding episodes of this show.
And I want to add that Jennifer Aniston and Lisa Kudrow agree with us that they were, I don't know, surprised, but they were pleased that Brad felt so relaxed and funny on the set because many of the movie stars that came on were not used to performing before a live audience and were a little awkward and uncomfortable. And Brad just seemed to just slide in there and do it.
Probably because he knew them. You're right. Probably because he was married to Jennifer Aniston, so he knew them. But you have people like, I think Sean Penn is pretty good when he's on, but Sean Penn on a sitcom is just kind of odd. You really don't see Sean Penn on a sitcom. Alec Baldwin obviously could do comedy. Julia Roberts, she's fine, but I just feel like other than Reese Witherspoon and Christina Applegate playing Rachel's sisters, who are just so funny, that he does the best job. I think he's really, really good. I agree with you.
Yeah, and that's why I remembered it so well.
So those are our 4 episodes of Friends. I think everybody pretty much knows, in the final episode, the finale, a 2-parter, that Monica and Chandler get their children from a surrogate, from Anna Faris, who plays the surrogate, and they're twins, and they move to the suburbs. And finally, Ross and Rachel end up together because she got off the plane. And that's all I'm going to say.
I got off the plane.
That's all I'm going to say. It's a good finale. Yep. It was, it's the highest rated finale of the 2000s. I think it was watched by over 50 million people. I remember that. Do you remember that? The finale?
Oh, yes, I do. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, all the loose ends were tied up. You have your last shout out to Regina Phalange, Phoebe's alias. I loved that. And what I think is really wonderful is that, it's kind of a little weird that Rachel would give up this fabulous job in Paris because Ross tells her he loves her after 10 years. But really, what kind of ending would you expect? I mean, what was the better ending? Her going to Paris and them not being together? That wasn't going to happen. People were waiting 10 years for these people to get together. And it's the natural ending, right?
Yeah, and it came up when we did our Green Acres episode and our Alice episode where when we talked about Green Acres, there was no final episode. It was canceled mid-season. And I said I liked that because I like to just think that everything just continued as it was. Whereas Alice, everybody's story was wrapped up in a neat little bow, every single character's. And so I have issues with final episodes because that tends to be a norm. This one did it, but it didn't bother me this time.
Yeah, no, I agree with it. Well, you know why I think that is because they knew the show was ending and they were able to craft the entire last season to build up logically to that conclusion. Alice, everything happened to everybody in the last episode. It's like, okay, everybody gets their dreams come true the very last episode. But in this show, all 18 episodes of the last year, we're building towards this climax. And I think that's also what makes it so satisfying. I think it's a very satisfying ending. I think, and Kaufman and Crane, used the last episode of Mary Tyler Moore as a guide, big surprise. And it stayed true to the characters and the character arcs and the story arcs. And I love it for that reason.
And there's also a line in the final episode that, again, with many of these lines in the show, it didn't become a catchphrase, but I remember loving it. And that is when they're heading out the door and somebody says, should we all go get some coffee? And Chandler says,
Sure. Where? It's Matthew Perry delivers it so light. It's such a light. Yeah, sure. Where? And everybody just looks at him, and yeah, it's a wonderful wrap up. It really is. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot, Brad. We just went through, it's a 10-year series, so give us a break. It's a long episode. There are so many episodes we didn't get to talk about, but people just go watch them. They're on HBO Max. If you haven't seen them, hopefully this will be a refresher for some of these episodes that we talked about and the ones we didn't get to talk about.
And if some of the stuff bothers you, I hope it doesn't, but get over it. Because, again, it's of its time, and it was still a great show, and put things in perspective and enjoy.
Yeah. So, Brad, I know we're both exhausted, but is there anything else you want to say about the podcast or anything else?
Well, our usual. As I always say, if you...
You forgot.
As I say every week, if you enjoy the show, please rate and review. It should be right there on the app in front of you. And more importantly, tell a friend, because they need to know that we're here and enjoy the show just as much as you do.
That's absolutely right, people. Please tell your friends. Love the feedback. Love the reviews. So appreciate it.
Me too.
Well, Brad, I'm exhausted. And I just have one more thing left to say. But I don't want to say it, as always, because this has been so much fun. So let's not say goodbye. Let's just say au revoir.
No, let's say, oh, I did it wrong. I'll do it.
We'll put it in. Goodbye, everybody.